You are listening to Radio Free Signs of the Times, broadcasting to the world on the eve of destruction.
We are doomed to extinction because of agriculture. We have raped and pillaged this planet. There is a disinformation program literally for everyone, no matter who you are and what your interests are, what your beliefs are, which way you're focusing. There is a website set up just for you to take you in and to vector your thinking and your attention into the way that they want you to think. Categories for things happening in the sky and the cosmos. If you read the scientific reports that come through and put the pieces together, you can see something big is happening.
Hello and welcome to the first Sott Talk radio show. This is a new weekly radio show that will be taking a deeper look at the topics of the day. Your hosts are myself, Joe Quinn.
And me, Niall Bradley.
We're both editors for the news and commentary website Sott.net. And for our first show, we're going to be taking a look at the Sandy Hook school shooting or school massacre that happened in Newtown, Connecticut, last December 14th. The thing about this shooting is, as everybody probably knows, is that it seemed to shock a lot of people, perhaps even more so than any of the other major shootings in recent history. And it shocked us as well. I mean, initially, we kind of thought that this was, while shocking, just another kind of tragic event of which we've seen
so many
similar ones in recent years, that somebody basically had just kind of gone postal yet again, with the difference this time, I suppose, and it is a big difference in the sense that this time it was mainly small children who had been brutally murdered. In most other shootings, in recent memory anyway, it was generally always, especially with large numbers, it was generally always adults. And I mean, and not to be too cynical about this, but I think it's fair to say that because there's been so many of these kind of shootings, it's fair to say that the kids are shot compared to adults. People have a different reaction, you know. I mean, adults are, well, they're adults and they run the risk, I suppose. As adults, they have responsibility for themselves, and the world's a dangerous place. So, you know, these things happen, and they happen too often, as we say in America. But kids don't really, you know, kids are very dependent on their parents, and they're vulnerable, they're innocent, and it just strikes a different chord with people. And I think that's, as far as I'm concerned anyway, that's the reason that there has been, or seems to have been, such a kind of outpouring of emotion over this event, and that it really has affected people, not just in the US, but all around the world in a very personal way.
Indeed. Although in one way this is not comparable to 9/11, I remember reading statements from people who were there, they were present, perhaps they were relatives or friends of the victims, and they sound and said as much themselves that this was like 9/11 all over again because of the sheerly traumatic nature of what was going down.
Yeah. So, in terms of the shooting itself, initially, just to be honest here, we did not immediately jump to any kind of conspiracy theory analysis on this shooting, although, you know, we have discussed potential conspiratorial nature of previous shootings. Initially, we just thought this was what it was being presented as, a lone nut, kind of gone crazy, a crazy guy killed kids because he was crazy, and we kind of left it at that initially. In terms of the official story, it seems to be the official story that has been given at this stage, or how it has essentially panned out, is that it's a fairly open and shut case. This guy, Adam Lanza, walked into the school, shot teachers and 20 kids, 6 teachers and 20 kids, and then himself, and that was it. But the problem, obviously, with that story is the way that it was presented initially. And we've written about this in several of our articles. Myself and Niall have written about this in several of our articles over the past month about the really amazing amount of media confusion. You could say disinformation, I don't know, but that implies some kind of intent, but certainly confusion, a large amount of confusion over this event, with completely contradictory information coming out, information that as far as the official story now is concerned, was completely wrong. Couldn't have been any more wrong. And this is different. I mean, I know people say that, well, the media makes mistakes, and the media aren't reliable, etc., etc. But I mean, as far as we're concerned, there was not the level of confusion
in past cases compared to this case in Sandy Hook. Sandy Hook was just stands out on its own. I mean, if you think back to the Aurora, Colorado shooting, I mean, there wasn't at the time this morass of completely crazy theories being put out there about who and what was happening, and getting the actual shooter's name wrong and what he did, where he came from. All of this at the time, kind of authoritative statements. These authoritative statements coming out about it that then were completely debunked afterwards within a day or even just a few hours. So that was a big red flag for me, that seeing these reports so completely contradict one after the other what had previously been said. It wasn't just that. I mean, it's been pointed out that this is to be expected. Confusion reigns when there's a crisis unfolding and whatnot. Well, this wasn't really a crisis unfolding, was it? Because, as Paul pointed out, it should really have been an open and shut case. So there was no shooting when the police arrived. They arrived and found a dead gunman, believing he had shot himself, lying there on the school floor. They did not have to fire their own arms because there was no situation to deal with, to respond to. It was essentially I hate to say it, but all they really had to do was a clean-up operation, in the sense that there was nothing further to do. And yet, we have these reports from the day that come from authoritative sources. At least that's the way they've been reported, by not just any old Joe blogs on the street, but by Associated Press, by CBS, CNN, NBC, the big media outlets. Their reporters, either on the scene or back in the studio, were getting messages, reports. Let's say they were bona fide reports from people telling them specific details, not just any old detail, but very specific details, to more or less move the story on. Here's the latest development, and you'd hear the development and go, okay, right. But the overall picture at one point was so completely different from what we have now, that this was the first big red flag we had, that something is amiss here.
Well, at the very least, something to look at,
Yeah.
So we did look, and we found, when we looked at we kind of put together, just to give you an example, we put together the bits of information, or the pieces of information about what actually was going on, what had happened, the individuals involved, how the shoot transpired. We kind of put that together based on the original reports that were coming out, just to try and compare it to what we have now, just to get an idea of just how different these two sets of stories were. I mean, everybody knows the official story now. It was basically an autistic 20-year-old Adam Lanza, no connection to Sandy Hook School, used one of his mother rifles to shoot her dead at home in near the school in Newtown. He then took 4 guns belonging to his mother and drove to the school in her black Honda Civic, He wore no body armor, only a fishing-style jacket and with multiple pockets in it for ammunition, supposedly, and this was confirmed by police. And then arriving shortly after morning classes, Lanza goes in through the front entrance. He's actually buzzed in, was the official story. Initially, this is what we were told. We'll just continue the official story. The official story is he shot his way through the front entrance, encountered the school principal in the hallway. He shoots her dead at the school psychologist. He then goes into two classrooms and kills the 20 children. He kind of maybe went into one or two other classrooms, but that was pretty much the end of it. And he's using this AR-15 Bushmaster assault rifle. And when he's done that, he shoots himself dead. Boom. That's it. That's the end of story. So the police arrive. All the shooting's gone. All the shooting has finished. They find all the dead bodies. They find the shooter dead. Case closed. So that is actually the official story. And our question then obviously is, if that is the official story, then if that's true, then that's all that was ever happening. That's all that ever happened. There is no other reason why anybody at any time would have come up with any other details that simply did not happen. Yet we had all of these details from the media in the first, it lasted for almost a week, I'd say, until the story was anywhere near to being ironed out. Just to give you an idea of the kind of things that they were saying. By contrast to the official story that we have now, was that the shooter wasn't Adam Lanza, it was his brother Ryan Lanza. That's been explained by the fact that he had his brother's ID on him. But the point is that they said that Adam, i.e. not the shooter, but they thought he was a shooter. They were looking for him as the second shooter. They made that specific statement that there were two shooters involved and that it was two brothers. They mistakenly identified Adam as his brother Ryan, and they were looking for the other brother. The theory, or the statement, the explanation of what had happened, given to the media by someone, was that the two brothers had been in Hoboken, New Jersey, where they had killed their father, potentially had killed two of Ryan's roommates were missing.
That's right. They said that law enforcement officials reported in, I'm not sure which outlet reported it, but it says, we confirm that Ryan Lanza, the suspect, his girlfriend is missing, and his roommate, either her roommate or his roommate, is also missing from Hoboken, New Jersey. This report came out that morning.
Okay, so you had the two brothers going down to Hoboken, New Jersey, killing the father, potentially killing or abducting or whatever two of the roommates of one of the brothers, then driving up to Sandy Hook to the mother's house, killing the mother, then driving over to the school. Then this is what the story said that Adam or Ryan, we presume.
Ryan, I think.
Ryan arrived at the school in full combat gear.
Yes.
Pushed the buzzer.
They have an automatic security system at the school.
They have, with the school, you have to be buzzed in.
The quote was, he was buzzed in.
He was buzzed
by someone who recognized him.
Right. Not that he shot his way in, but that he buzzed his way in. And I suppose then thereafter, he or maybe both of them, we don't know because both of them were said to be involved, carried out the killings, carried out the shootings, and then shot themselves. But obviously it was fairly quickly evident that there was only one shooter in the building. But that's where the story of the two comes in, because one was found dead in the school and the other one was being searched for by police.